In this application activity called Bad News, Okay News, Good News, the children will determine if news headlines are good, okay, or bad news and compare them to the greatest news of Jesus' birth. Lead the activity like this. Many times we hear news and we know if it's good news, bad news, or just okay news. When people heard about Jesus, they knew that it was the greatest news ever. The people who heard that news had great joy upon hearing that Jesus had been born, and they wanted to share that news with others. So today we're going to look at some news headlines. We'll divide them up into good news, okay news, and bad news. All right, so to get started, everyone stand up. Let me go ahead and just make a line over here. Very good. So one of you at a time will run down to this pile of cards over here, pick one up, and you're going to yell it to the other group just like a paper boy selling papers. For example, if the card says something like, "Firefighter rescues puppy from burning building," you would shout, "Extra, extra, read all about it. Firefighter rescues puppy from burning building." Just like that. And also, some of the headlines might say things like your favorite restaurant or your favorite store. And if that is written on the card, then you will actually put the name of your favorite restaurant or store before the shout in the headline. For example, my favorite restaurant is Charlie's Chili Shack. If the headline said, "Your favorite restaurant had a fire in the kitchen and burned down," I would say, "Charlie's Chili Shack had a fire in the kitchen and burned down." Now, after you've shouted the headlines to us, we'll decide if it's good news, okay news, or bad news. So, if the person shouts and it's good news, then everyone will shout it back to them and say, "Good news." If it's okay news, then they'll just shout it back to them in a normal voice, "Okay news." And if it's bad news, then you will whisper it back to them. And then the paper boy or girl will run back to the group and place the headline in the correct pile. So for this, we're going to put our good news pile here, our okay news pile here, and then our bad news pile right here. Very good. All right, who wants to go first? Matthew. All right, so go ahead and run down and pick up the first headline.
Extra, extra, read all about it. Red Lobster opened a location near you.
Good news.
Go ahead and shout it a little louder.
Good news.
There you go. Go ahead and put it in the pile. Very good. All right, who wants to go next? All right, go ahead, Brooke.
Extra, extra, read all about it. Firefighter rescues puppy from burning building.
Good news.
Definitely, that's good news. Go ahead. All right, who's next? Christina, go ahead.
Extra, extra, read all about it. Church just bought new chairs.
Good
news.
Good news or maybe okay news? Very good. Okay news. All right, Brooke, why don't you go ahead and go?
Extra, extra, read all about it. Toys R Us is having a 70% off everything sale.
Good news.
Good news, good news. All right, last one, Matthew, why don't you go?
Extra, extra, read all about it. The sky is falling.
Bad news, definitely. All right, go ahead and put it in the bad news pile. All right, very good. Well, you guys did a great job in that game. Why don't you go ahead and have a seat? Very good. Now, in this game, we came across some good news, but who can remember what the greatest news is?
That Jesus was born.
That Jesus was born, that's right. Now, when people heard the news of Jesus' birth, they were excited and knew that it was the greatest news that they had ever heard. And since it was such great news, they wanted to share the news with everyone that they knew. And today we read a lot of headlines. Some of them were good, some of them were bad, and some of them were just okay. Now, just like we shouted the good news out loud, we need to shout to everyone the good news of Jesus and his love. When we do that, we will be sharing the joyous news of Jesus' love with everyone.